And we're back. And thank y'all for tuning in here. It's another episode of Black Friday where these opinions are not for sale. And we got Chris, we got Omar, and we got Sonny. And it's been a good week, man. Did a quick turnaround here. We're back again within a week or so, but still a lot happening. Been pretty busy, but tons of stuff going on. One of the first things that we noticed here was that the Senate had reached a deal and passed the infrastructure bill. And I'm deeply worried about this. And you know why? I'm be honest why I'm deeply worried, because when I hear bipartisan support, I get very, very worried, because it sounds like everybody wants to spend my money and screw me over. Because that's what bipartisan support means. Is we both agree that we're both going to take your money and spend it on nonsense that you don't care about. So that's what I normally hear when I think of the bipartisan support in the Senate on something. What do you guys think about the infrastructure bill?
It's crazy, man. They didn't even get time to read that thing.
No, I mean 3,000 pages, and they pass it before midnight. You got 3 hours to read it.
And any bill like that is anti-American, anti-democracy. It is you don't have the chance to really vote on what the issues are in the bill or to support or deny it. It's just it's disgusting. I can't say how much I hate it enough.
That should actually even be illegal, like to have that where people can literally give you a bill and you have to pass it in a certain amount of time and not even get to read through it. Like, that's just crazy. And then because it affects us. And then what was in there, the poll tax? Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah. Vehicle mileage.
Vehicle mileage, yeah. And now there's, that's in there and you're voting on something you don't even know what's in there. Like, it's just crazy. That's unfathomable.
I also want, of course, the bill is 3,000 pages, so nobody's read it. If you're reading it, you really don't have life at all. But anyway, I think there might be something about a supersonic train out in California and things like that. There was so much in that bill that is garbage. Yes, we needed an infrastructure bill because America needs to invest in that. It creates jobs, for one, and it boosts the economy. We needed an infrastructure bill. I was about to say immigration. We need that too. But we needed an infrastructure bill, but this one was not a good one at all. And the 19 people, one of whom is one of my senators, Roger Wicker, who I used to have a lot of respect for. He's lost a good bit of respect from me for this bill. I don't know what else to say about it, man.
Honestly, Republicans that are voting on these $1 trillion bills, that is anti-limited government and small government. And if that's what you're really about, if you're about limiting the government and the government's power and you vote for these bills, you aren't. It's just simple as that. That is principled. Stay principled. I'm so sick of these politicians one day saying, like, I'm here for the people, and then I'm also going to expand my power the next by voting on a bill that costs $1 trillion. And now Democrats are talking about we need another infrastructure bill immediately after it. I think the number was they want a $3.5 trillion a $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. I mean, how deep are we gonna go into debt, like for everything? I mean, this country is running on fumes. We cannot continue to operate in a deficit. We need a budget. We need the budget to be balanced. That's what we need. We cannot operate in a deficit. Let's start running this country more like it's like a business than like you can just tax people more and the money will keep on coming.
I mean, it was 2,700 pages, just shy of 3,000 pages. If somebody puts that on my desk, and me as a good faith and person that believes in morality and right and wrong knows that I cannot read this within 3,000 pages and cannot communicate this to my constituents and read what benefits my constituents in this bill, I would not pass it. I don't understand how crazy that is to sound, but that's not how DC works. And that's bad. That's bad. The fact that your constituents go out the window and they throw it on your desk and you say, okay, go ahead and pass the bill through. And the thing about this too is that the leading Democrats have vowed that this infrastructure bill is not even going to become law unless it's paired with another $3.5 trillion package that's passed on party lines known as reconciliation. And now, now the goals here for reconciliation, they have a great wish list. They want a generational welfare expansion. They want tax hikes, a great way to kill more jobs. An aggressive climate agenda, another way to kill jobs and just tax the crap out of Americans. And they want to give amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants. That's a way to never win another election as long as we live. We will never win another. Go ahead and do that. We will never win again. And Lindsey Graham concedes on this crap the whole time. He's a loser, one of the worst people I've ever seen. Weak Republicans are worse than terrible Democrats. I say it every day. Spineless people that just let everything happen to them are no good. Absolutely no good. This is what they want. This is their agenda. This is what's going to happen. But you got 19 Republicans saying, yeah, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and, it's a bipartisan deal. And that's one thing. Don't be disillusioned by the idea of bipartisanship as a good thing. Just like diversity. Same thing. Bipartisanship, diversity. It doesn't make it a good thing, y'all. If 20 people from black, white, and Asian rob a bank and put a gun to your head, that doesn't make it better than 20 white dudes or 20 black dudes that are doing it. It's still a bad thing that's happening to you.
But it's diversity, bro.
Don't be saying that makes it good. Don't be saying
I wouldn't say bipartisanship is a bad thing, but it's being used badly.
No, it's not inherently good. My point is that it's not inherently good. Just by saying bipartisanship, it doesn't make it inherently good.
By saying the phrase. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, but just like, it doesn't make it inherently good just because, man, they both sides worked on it. That doesn't make it good.
We see that promulgated so many times where they're like, this is a bipartisan deal. Like, we're working on this together. We're actually coming together and finding common ground on things. And it's like, that don't make it right. It's like, nobody cares that you guys all signed a bill. The bill is trash. Like, it doesn't change the fact what's in the bill is junk for the American people.
Or, when you're saying, I'm working together with X, Y, in this case, Democrats, and saying, we all agree on this. If you're agreeing with them, the people that think that you're all racist, sexist, xenophobic, evil, Nazis.
January 6th. Yes.
Exactly. That's who you're agreeing with. Okay, well, there's probably something in that bill that we don't agree with because we are in such a polarized time in this country that people are not crossing the aisle anymore. And I think that you can question it when they do. There are very few things that when politicians come together, I will say when politicians come together, that means that they're coming for us. That's all it is. They don't come together because they're trying to win over their constituents. They're trying to win over more power. And, we have, for the GOP at least, the GOP – what was it? 19 senators voted for the bill, including you had Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. Why do we continue letting these Republicans, these spineless old Republicans, hold office? It's time for people to primary them and get them out, especially Mitch McConnell. He's just awful.
You can't primary Mitch McConnell, not for another 6 years if he makes it that long.
Well, we need to get him out of leadership. Omar, tell me, what's the process of getting him out of leadership?
After every election, new members come in with the re-elected members or the members that are still there. They come in and they have a caucus meeting. So the Republicans will have their own meetings. The Democrats and the two independents that are with them, they'll have their own meetings, and they decide leadership then. Who's going to be the leader? Whether they're in the minority or the majority, the whip who basically rounds up people to make sure they're voting the right way, and whatever other leadership positions. I think the Democrats have 10 and Republicans only have 5 or 6.
Yeah.
The party chairman, not party chair, committee chairs are also and ranking members, which is basically vice chairman. They're also chosen in those meetings as well. That's my policy for today.
Thank you. And when we send these new Republican senators to DC, we need to send them with the message of stop allowing old GOP spineless garbage running the party. The GOP is awful, god awful. They cannot win anything.
Chris, I actually, there is someone named and he won years ago. He's the reason why we had Harry Reid running the Senate for a while, but he actually threw out the Democratic leader up. I think it was in North or South Dakota. His name is John Thune. I really thought he was going to step up and become a leader, and I think he's in leadership, but even he's become a crony. They're all weak. And he was strong in the beginning. He was really strong leader. Right before Barack Obama was elected. Now look at him. He's weak.
Everybody acts tough, man. When they're not winning and they're on the downside, everybody acts tough. And then when they get in their charge, they get in the power. They're not tough anymore, man. They're weak. They bend the knee. Oh, let's work. Let's do that. Man, when we have a chance to wield power and we don't use it, it's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's what we do every single time. It's all that we ever get. Another thing about this infrastructure bill here is that there's a great emphasis and obsession with equity. They want to push equity. And that's, it should scare you already off the top saying equity. What's that? Oh, to make everything, equal for the special treatment for disadvantaged people. An example here is they want to build a new bureaucracy to increase the number of female truck drivers. Maybe females don't want to be truck drivers. Why is that such a big need? Like, why does that have to happen? Like, why? And then the Digital Equity Act. And in the Digital Equity Act, it includes expanding internet access for prisoners because prisoners need to have internet.
Hey man, they got to check their Facebook too. Let's be honest. Like that's cruel and unusual punishment if they can't get on TikTok.
Okay,
so
I'll say this:
access primarily for like certain types of prisons. For instance, are they for like maximum or minimum security prisons, or is it for all prisons? Do you?
I don't know.
Right.
But I mean,
another thing is I don't care. I don't think
right.
that's.
I
don't care.
Kind of a moot point, right? I mean, it's idiotic to think that you're going to try to give criminals access to the internet. Like, what do you think they're going to do with it? They're going to try to escape most of them or get some way out of their punishment. We already find that. My dad works at a maximum security prison. They'll find any way, shape, or possible to get access to the outside to get out of that place in some way, shape, or form. And then also, go ahead.
You know what? I'm for minimum security if it's regulated to the point where the only reason why you're using the internet is for like GED purposes or college course purposes. One of my old professors actually does this in Mississippi. And he takes time away from his family to go drive to Parchman, which is like 3 hours away, to do a college course for these guys. And they actually do the college course. They make A's. And my old professor is a hard grader. And I will say that. That now, if they had this internet, maybe he can stay home with his family and just give them internet stuff. But it has to be highly regulated to the point, or supervised, I should say, to the point where, okay, you're only using it for educational purposes. I'm for that. Because when they come out of prison, I do want them to contribute to society in one way, form, or fashion. And you can't really do that without educate, especially for them.
No, definitely. It's just a matter of how much money we're putting into this and where our emphasis is. So much on people that are incarcerated and, pissed on their chance to be a great part of society already. But I mean, I'm not sure. Are there other prisons that do? Yeah, but I mean, like, aren't there other prisons that already do that? Per se.
Yeah, I mean,
GED programs that use computers. I mean, we are in 2021. There have to be using computers by now. I mean, I figure,
not in every prison. I'll tell you this: the prison I was talking about, Parchman, here in Mississippi. And I kid you not, I have seen it with my own eyes. There is throw up that is 4 months old everywhere. They need a serious upgrade. I know that's only one example, but I'm just saying, the internet thing, it needs to be done. Maybe not on a federal level. Maybe what I would have done is incentivize the states to get their own programs of doing that, and then give more tax incentives to prison, or maybe not prisons, to people to invest in those prisons to help them get internet for educational purposes. There are plenty of ways to do it that is that's not going to balloon the deficit, but having internet in those prisons, if it's for educational purposes, I'm for that.
Well, see, I think that's the divide here is whether or not you believe that prisoners need to be more geared towards punishment or rehabilitation. And I think that one huge issue we have in this country is that our prison system is not geared towards rehabilitation and, bringing people back. I mean, there are some people that don't. Like, if you murder someone, if you rape someone, you deserve punishment. You cannot come back into society. And personally, I believe those people don't deserve to come back to society. But people who are screwed over by the government, screwed over by the legal system, like that could be any of us. Like, just for instance, like if any of us went to January 6th just as a bystander, the government could have rounded us up by now and thrown us in prison. And we would have been like, if you had the opinion like, oh, scum of society are in prison. Are we a scum of society, or did government decide we're scum of society? So having that, with that kind of mindset, I don't think that everybody in prison is terrible. There are a lot of people in prison who are in prison because wrong place, wrong time, or they made a mistake, or they had an ounce of weed on them and the government thinks that's evil for some reason, but you can have 40 bottles of liquor on you and that's no issue, but whatever. That's just my own personal opinion. I feel like I'm not for the government spending more money on prisons and things like that, but also if it's worth like bringing up society, I'd rather them spend money on prisons than spending money on critical race theory in schools.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, it's just as far as spending money on internet as a resource here is rather than, hey, we want to fix something in the prison system, let's actually fix it. Let's just be like, let's give internet to prison. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just
fix something rather than just like give.
Yeah, I'd rather there be a detailed plan on how to fix it, because the government's response to things is throw money at it, and then that doesn't get fixed. That's why schools are all garbage.
Right, I agree. And I think, as you mentioned, Chris, like the recidivism rate is so high. Like we see people who get out and go right back because that's all they know. And I have people that I know personally that get out of prison and go straight back because they've been in there all their life. And so I do think that we need to spend, if we're going to spend any money, spend money in the ways to keep people out of prison and get them on their feet. But like you said, I don't think internet, unless, as you mentioned, Omar, and if they're trying to get a degree or something that can help them when they get out, is necessary. Like, it just sitting there, you're in your cell, you're on the internet, like you said, on Facebook or on Twitter, like, what are you doing?
Right.
This is what I've seen many times with people who commit crimes, is that they go back to prison because they pay their bills, they feed them, they house them. Like, it's so hard when you get out, and prison is the only way back to go, because it's not only only thing but also they provide everything. Like, if you don't have to pay for internet, you get your own TV, you get your own cell, they feed you, they clothe you. Why do you need to be on the outside?
Sonny, I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, if we're going to throw money at something, let's throw money at businesses who hire these folks and give these folks a chance after extensive screening. I get that, but let's try to bring these folks back into society and get them a job. See, and not give them benefits for a long period of time. See if they come into work on time and do their job, and bring them into society that way.
No, I completely agree with that, Omar. I think that giving tax credits or however you want to do it to businesses that hire people like this, because my old job, I did work with a few people who were felons, and they were some of the hardest working people I've ever met. They made a mistake 20 years ago, and they're like, yeah, I was in that car, they did something stupid, I went to jail for 5 years, or prison for 5 years, 10 years. And talking to people like that, like, they're not all bad. Now, of course, there are some that are bad people, and they're just inherently bad people, but treating people as such, like, people need to have a second chance. I think that we need to allow, not everybody, but we need to allow people who have just made a simple mistake, such as being caught with something, or they had a DUI or something. Like, people need to be able to have a second chance and come back into the workforce and have a chance to come back into society. There are a lot of prominent figures in society who had gone to prison and now are like successful and have done a lot of good things for society.
I know someone here in Macomb. He actually was in and out of juvie. And now he's a prominent business owner. He owns a new, it's called Bistro and Blues, I think, or something of the nature. Not to kind of throw his business out there, but please forgive me. But, it's a very upscale place. They play live music. He got a second chance. He got a business loan. Now he's a pretty successful businessman. You know, so when we give people second chances, it it can work out and it can benefit society. I went over there a couple of days ago. The food is amazing. You know, and that's just one example that I just thought of. Um,
I mean, prisons have four main purposes like retribution, incapacitation, deterrence, and rehabilitation. And that's the whole thing. Prisons are supposed to serve that purpose depending on who's in there, you know, what it is. You killed somebody, you're in there for incapacitation. You're a threat to society, threat to humanity. You need to be off the streets. You need to be gone. Rehabilitation, drug abusers, etc., people that need to get away, get off whatever the heck they're on, and then come back. That's the whole thing. Now, are we rehabbing our prisoners? That's a whole different discussion. I've had the ability to talk to many different people, and they claim that we're not doing so. Addicts come out of prison still addicts, and what do? They go back to getting on whatever they were, and then they go back into prison again and again and again because they're addicts, and that the problem was never solved. Deterrence is to kind of steer them on the straight path, get them out for a bit, and then put them back like, all right, here, like, don't do that again, like, you know better. And then, retribution, punishment for wrongdoing. It's just like, hey, you did this, and like, now you got to go serve your time. You know, probably won't do it again, but it's retribution, it's punishment for what you did, and now you're out again. Not necessarily the biggest mess to society, though, but yeah.
Yeah, and you have some punishments, like I said, that the retribution will never be met. You cannot, come back from murder. You cannot come back from rape. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I'm kind of harsh on that. I think that those people that perform such acts, like they don't deserve to come back to society when found guilty by a court of law that is currently our courts are not the best, but that's at least my opinion on that.
Yeah. Shifting gears here, state of New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo has announced he will be resigning within the next 2 weeks. As this is a slight consolation to many people that want him behind bars in prison for the thousands of people that died at his hands at the beginning of COVID. But in the time being now, he still has denied all allegations that he has done anything wrong. He claims that cultural shifts and changes, and maybe he misinterpreted things. And so he still denies that he did anything like that in that manner that would be considered sexual harassment, groping, etc. But he's going to be out, and then it looks like his let's see who's taken over. What's her name actually is Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul is going to be taken over. She served.
What's her name?
Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul.
She sounds familiar.
See, the thing
taken over, and
go
ahead.
I was going to say what I had heard about this is that she actually is a pretty progressive bunch, and when she came into the politics, Andrew Cuomo was essentially like, "Hey, you got to publicly denounce some of your views or something," and I don't remember exactly what it was. It's just something that I heard, and then she did that, and now she's coming. She went after him. She's the one who is like, "Yeah, Andrew Cuomo needs to resign. He's disgusting." And so this is obviously politics. This is obviously like she's coming back at him. And God, she coming out on top. Now she's going to be leading the state as the first woman to lead the state.
I remember this. I remember reading about her years ago when we were in when most of us were in 8th and 9th grade. She actually won a special election to replace a Republican U.S. rep. That's how I remember her. I knew her name sounded familiar. I'm sorry, everyone. I keep those little factoids are very interesting to me, so I keep up with all of that. But yeah, she is very, very liberal from her voting record in the House. So I guess New York is in for it.
No, I mean, that's the whole thing. Be careful what you wish for. It's the same thing as in California. Oh, we finally got rid of Jerry Brownie. He, served his 2 terms. He was gone. Then you got Gavin Newsom coming in. It could never get worse than Jerry Brown. Like, don't be so They'll be so quick to say something like that. You know, like that. You be careful what you wish for. There, you're gonna Cuomo. Oh, he's so terrible. Like, what do you think you're gonna get put coming in? These people are only getting further and further left. They're not getting any more moderate anytime soon. So this is just what it is. So be prepared because this is coming. You know, New York. You know, oh, they're gonna open up our businesses. Probably not. You're probably not having anything good happening anytime soon. I'm sorry.
Well, now what she might do is, I'm hoping she at least stops the vaccine passports in New York. Listening because she's a woman and listening to all of the leading women of that area, they're saying that's not a good thing, that it's racist. Maybe she'll listen to her friends up there in New York and in Boston and things like that. But then again, you never know.
I'm just laughing at Cuomo because he's all like, I've done nothing wrong. This is the way I am. That's the Italian in me.
Man, don't be. That's the one thing that makes me upset, man. Don't be putting being Italian as far as being a predator. That's bold, man.
Right.
I'm Italian. I ain't no predator.
Right.
Like, get out of here, man.
All of us
Like,
Italians
don't
are
do
like,
that
bruh.
That is terrible.
Anybody, man, just sick. And then Chris is all his brother's all, getting fired up because of some reporter that was recording him after, Cuomo said he was resigning. His brother was resigning. And now he's trying to seek legal action against a reporter. It's like, these people, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Hot.
And you have Kathy Hochul, whatever.
Hochul.
She is going to be. She already announced she's going to be seeking a full term in 2022, and that's what she's going to be seeking. So, I mean, that's we'll see what happens. You also have Letitia James, who is the Attorney General, the extremely progressive Attorney General, Black woman in New York, who is a prospective to run. I mean, I don't know exactly. It's New York. What is New York gonna like? It's gonna be a deep blue state anyway.
Platform. That woman's platform. She is the one that is trying to get Trump indicted, or Trump people indicted on whatever charges that she's trying to bring up, which are probably baseless anyway. She may get a few people on some of their own personal things, but I mean that's what she's building her career off of, and that's how she's given herself a platform to run. And I'm talking about that Black Attorney General in New York. It's it's just politics.
That's what it is.
I know people actually think they actually cared about doing the right thing. Like they actually cared. Man, they took him down because they had to. That's all, people. They didn't have a moral obligation to actually get this guy out. It was literally because it was so bad that they had to. Don't think that they actually cared.
And don't think that Joe Biden really cares, because number one, remember, Biden has sexual allegations against him too. And after this man resigned, he still tried to compliment him, saying he did a great job, he's a good man, and all of this other stuff. I'm like, Joe Biden, be consistent.
Joe Biden's like, he's great other than the touching the tits and stuff. Like that's like, come on,
Joe. Did you guys see
like,
the video of the young people in New York basically talking about Cuomo and saying how they were going to come for de Blasio next, and they were using a bunch of expletives and stuff? But
you know what? They didn't come for de Blasio. Can't stand them.
It seems like nobody in New York.
That video was funny.
Like, what is with in Democrat states? They hate their politicians, but they're the ones that voted them in and gave them so much power. Like, I don't understand like the thought process there. Like California, the same thing's going on. They're recalling Newsom. New York got rid of Cuomo, and now they want to get rid of de Blasio. I mean, they hate the LA mayor. I forgot his name, but in the LA, they hate that mayor. It's the same thing. It's like California and New York, both terrible opposite ends of the country, both terrible states. Never would want to live in them. Just awful.
I don't even want to visit New York anymore. I just don't.
Hey, why even visit? Why even visit? No point.
I would go visit Ground Zero, obviously, and a couple other places, but I don't even want to visit New York anymore. The only reason why I would visit California, I do have family in California. I'd probably say hello to them and just get out. I have no desire to visit these places anymore. Let's visit good places like Florida, Tennessee, uh, places like that. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention, and this is for a so-called Republican, Anna Navarro. Anna Navarro is really boosting this whole Cuomo case against Trump. She said, "Oh, if you're going to be for someone that has sexual allegations against them, why are you all still for Trump and you're over here saying this about Andrew Cuomo?" I'm gonna say this. Okay, number one. Trump apologized for his comments immediately after they were leaked. He apologized for them. Cuomo is denying the fact that he even did this thing. Trump acknowledged it, said, "I'm sorry." As a matter of fact, he did the whole repentance thing in the Bible. He said he admitted to people he did the crime. He admitted it to God. He repented. He said he's sorry. He moved on. Cuomo won't even do that. So Anna Navarro and all of these crazy never Trumpers that were out there saying this mess, y'all are wrong. You're hypocrites and doggone it.
Words aren't actions. Words aren't actions necessarily. While bad and whatever it might have been, that doesn't equate to him actually doing something wrong and is yet to be proven in a court of law. The allegations, they all dropped like a flies. Same
but he
thing
still
with
apologized.
Blasey for. Yeah, but what he said was wrong. He didn't actually do something though. He didn't actually go out there and open up or nothing. That's the whole thing. There's actually like actions are bad. Like actions are bad. Like actually doing something is bad. So like, yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing.
And my thing is that if Cuomo, even though the allegations came out, if it wasn't a big deal for him, like the Democrats weren't saying nothing about it until there was a bunch of people on the right who are like, "Y'all gonna let this man stay in office? Like he's literally got all these allegations." And then it took enough. Like how many allegations did he have against him for them to finally?
I think it's 11.
Yeah. Then they were like, "Oh, all right, maybe he did. Well, but remember the whole Me Too movement was believe all women. The first woman comes out, you're supposed to hear, and he even said that himself. Cuomo tweeted that when a woman accuses somebody, then you're supposed to believe him. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't have exactly what he said correct, but he tweeted it, and then it didn't age well, obviously. So.
Yeah, look where he's at now. I'm sure he's regretting that tweet from his PR manager. But I mean, it's not really that much of a win. He's gonna go on, still be rich, still be powerful, and live the rest of his days as a disgraced politician. I don't think he's gonna come back. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna still be rich. He's still gonna be powerful, and he's not ever going to see real consequences for any of the wrongdoing that he's done. So conservatives that are acting like this is a win, it's really not.
No.
You know what? Isn't it weird that it's only the Democrats that get into these situations and then they deny it? There is only one Republican. I can't even remember his name because when he was in the House of Representatives, can't remember his name, but when he was sexting a woman, I think it was one of his staffers, he immediately resigned. Story went away. But no, you got people like Anthony Weiner out there sexting folks. And he kept on denying it. And then he almost becomes New York mayor. What type and Democrats think they have the upper hand and the morality on this issue, and they don't.
The funniest thing about the whole thing was that CNN's Jeffrey Toobin, the guy who exposed himself on a Zoom call, literally dropped his pants and everything on a Zoom call, pulled it all out in a Zoom call, was a guy talking about Cuomo and the whole case going on. That guy's back on TV, back on national air after what he did. How could anybody come back from that unless you're working at CNN and you have the right views? Like it's insane.
Did you see the video of him when they came back and they talked about it on live air and like they were asking questions about it? It was the most cringe thing you could ever watch. It's like, how are you going to come back on live television and just to get your job back and sit here and talk about what you did, like on live? Like that's just Bro, it was the most cringe, and they were trying to make a joke out of it, kind of at the same time, make it like lighthearted and stuff. And I'm just like, y'all are whack, bro.
No, there's different rules for different people.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Communist News Network. I gotta create an acronym for NBC and MSNBC.
Well, I mean, Vernon Jones called it the Controlled Negroes Network. That was pretty good. that was pretty good. He said it straight to CNN's face. He just said it straight to CNN's face when he said that one. I was like, oh man, this guy's for real. He's about that action. Man. Switching over to sports mode. Other news on Thursday night, for the first time, MLB had the Field of Dreams game. It was the highest viewed game in MLB history, reported on Fox, with nearly 6 million viewers itself. It was incredible to watch, just from the movie from over 30 years ago, Field of Dreams. They had a whole cornfield in Iowa. They carved it out and built a baseball stadium, and the Yankees and White Sox played. And the game ended in a walk-off homer for the White Sox. It was pretty cool to see. And if you guys hadn't seen it yet, I mean, it's almost like a darn replica, like legit, just from the movie. I don't know how much you guys follow like the baseball movies or anything, but it was pretty cool. I gotta say, pull up this image real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. It was really something to see. I mean, it's pretty neat. Like, that's in in Iowa, wow. And to my knowledge too, they sold out those tickets, and those tickets were going, well over $1,200 a piece, I believe.
Wow!
Just for all those tickets, like, it was expensive, but they really played the cornfield in the back and everything, and it was really neat. You got to see it, and the game ends on the walk-off homer.
Anderson hits it in the air right, back at the wall, the White Sox win it.
It's kind of a storybook ending, almost. It's pretty cool. The game ends on a walk-off home run, and so it's really interesting to see MLB kind of saving face after going fully woke, changing the All-Star game and everything, to actually making the right move and pulling in some nostalgia and getting people out to go see a ball game in Iowa, because Iowa doesn't have any professional sports, so that was kind of smart at their end to make that happen. Oh, that's really cool.
Great for MLB.
MLB, man. Jay Cutler, former NFL quarterback, was kicked from an Uber promo with the NFL because he publicly stated that he didn't believe that kids need to be masked. And he's made it very clear on his Twitter that he is looking for information on how to run for school board, because he is fed up and tired of all the nonsense going on. And he wants to run for the Williamson County school board, which is pretty cool.
As he should.
Yeah.
As he should. I just want to point out it's going to be real hypocrisy with this story, and I'll tell you why. Because Jay Cutler, he had his moments in the NFL, he did, but wasn't as successful as other quarterbacks, obviously. Now, people, and I know we're going to mention it later, but people are going to say. People have been saying, okay, Colin Kaepernick was actually a good quarterback and stuff. And we've been saying actually he wasn't, all because of an issue that they're either representing or fighting for, things like that. So the liberals are going to try to do what we did with Colin Kaepernick with this situation. So obviously it's going to be hypocrisy on them with this. So I say, I just want to see how it plays out, because it's going to be total hypocrisy as this story builds.
So we're going to see here.
Yeah. It's probably going to be the most woke thing you ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see what happens to this.
No, we're gonna see here. But Uber released a statement about Jay Cutler's losing his sponsorship with them. They said that we're proud of all the work Uber has done over the last year to help get as many people vaccinated as possible. As such, we prefer to partner with those who support that work. Like, yeah, no, we're good, buddy. Like,
he just talked about the mask though. He didn't say anything about the vaccine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's literally it's a time where if you don't agree, and then you are no longer welcome into the elite, or you're seen as less than worthy, and we, as people who are going to be considered as less than worthy, we still support these companies. We're still taking Ubers. We're still going to sports games. We're still doing we're doing all the same things, and we're not changing. And that is something that needs to happen. Like, we need to start holding these people accountable. If they're going to really say, like, well, you don't want to get vaccinated, well, you no longer are able to use Uber. Like, oh, well, okay, I won't use Uber. Like, I won't support them. Well, they're probably not going to do that.
Well, boycotting them is not going to be enough. We need to either buy these companies out or start a rival company.
I mean, we just shut them down with the government. It sounds like a great idea to me. I'm all about it. Yeah, stop.
I don't know about that.
That's one thing I say.
Yeah, man, stop spreading propaganda, man. Just shut them down.
Organize each other,
Yeah, man. It's funny. I know Chris over here, like, what'd you say?
Man, big gov for me, please. Nah, I would prefer the people come together, organizing against these companies and stuff. And I'm not saying necessarily boycotting, but I mean, one thing they have to realize is, like, the majority of people in the country, even people who are vaccinated and things like that, they're not for having vaccine passports and unvaccinated people not being able to come into the same room with them or anything like that. It's not something that people are in favor of. So if we move on with
View,
what'd you say?
I said, unless you're on The View.
Yeah, unless you're on The View, or you live in, like, one of the worst cities in America, like LA or New York or Portland. I mean, that's how it is. And it's coming from somebody who lives in Detroit or lived in Detroit. Come on now.
Yeah. So Colin Kaepernick has landed a limited series called Colin Black and White on Netflix. That'll be out in October. This is going to be a coming-of-age story about Kaepernick's pre-NFL youth tackling the obstacles of race, class, and culture as the black adopted child of a white family.
Class and culture. This man was rich. He was rich. What? They couldn't pick any. They could have talked about me. I was poor. Come on now. Like, what did he have to overcome? He was literally adopted by rich white people. Like, if you were gonna make a documentary or a series on any black person, you chose the wrong black person. You could have chose literally pick any black person in any black school. You could have made probably a better, more inspiring story if they did anything with their life. He had all of the means to do what he did. He had the privilege.
He had white privilege.
Exactly. Thank you.
He had that white privilege. God dang.
Oh, he grew up.
And then he's half white. Come on now.
And now, you know what he has now? He has black privilege now. That's what he has.
He's always had privilege. He's continuing. He's still a millionaire. It's insane that he is seen as a victim.
He settled with the NFL for I don't know how much it is. Christian may know, but I don't know how much he settled with the NFL for. But they gave him a settlement. He already signed like $100 million deal with San Francisco. So Francisco gave him most of that money and all of these other endorsements. And you really think this man is oppressed? Come on now. He's doing the same thing like LeBron James. And LeBron James said, exactly. I'm scared for my life. And he has his own private security team. Come on, man. His own private security team.
But defund the police.
Thank you.
I know it's almost like most black people can't afford security. Dang, man. He might not know that, though, because he was grown up in a rich white family. Hey, come on now.
Yes.
We both grew up here in the same hometown. Both of us are from Turlock, California. I lived there my whole life. He grew up in his childhood his whole life. Turlock, California.
Median income in Turlock.
Median income, upper middle class. I'm sure he grew up, had a good life and everything. I grew up, middle class-ish myself. But this is interesting because he says, too often we see race and black stories portrayed through a white lens. So this here, he's exploring the racial conflicts he faced as an adopted black man in a white community during my high school years. It's an honor to bring
I
these stories
wonder
to life
how his parents feel.
for the world to see. Like,
Um,
and we grew up, we had that life. We went to the same high school. We had that same experience here. I'm not gonna say, oh, my whole life. I'm not adopted. Okay, I wasn't adopted. I didn't have that myself. But this whole thing, I don't know what he's gonna make Turlock out to be here. If he's starting to make this into some yeehaw, like straight up like clan town, that's gonna be some absolute nonsense. That's absolute crap. That's not how it works at all.
Did
That's not
you
how
say you went to the same high school as him?
Yeah,
Did you?
absolutely.
Obviously, y'all weren't in high school at the same time.
No.
Did you
No,
grow up watching him play at football games? Did he even start in high school?
Yeah, no, he was a starting quarterback. He got drafted by the Chicago Cubs, throwing a 94-mile-an-hour fastball his senior year of high school. He could have went, pro in baseball. He took a full ride scholarship to the only school that offered it to him at UNR, University of Nevada, Reno. He had a great career there, rushing for over 1,000 yards, like over 3 seasons there, and passing for over 3,000 yards his senior year. And he lands a second-round pick by the Niners, and his career takes off. It goes off, goes up. And then the social justice stuff comes years later. But no, he was always, he was a good athlete and everything. Don't get me wrong. Didn't know he had the star power till he really got there. But I didn't follow him until he got to college, and then I started looking. I'm like, this guy can ball a little bit. But it all came crashing down after the RPO went down. In the NFL, everybody started quarterback spying, and you couldn't get out anymore. He wasn't adapting to the game. That's why he didn't play anymore. It's simple. You get with it or you get left behind, and he didn't.
Well, then again, I will say, if Jim Harbaugh would have stayed there, I feel like he would have helped them adapt. He would have adapted to defenses more. You bring in people like Chip Kelly and Jim Tomsula, how do you be? I'm sorry, I'm going off on a small tangent, but how do you rise from defensive line coach to an actual head coach and really thought your quarterback was gonna adapt to that? I don't get, but anyway, he did not. He because he couldn't adapt, and then his coaches couldn't adapt. He was ultimately gonna have to either leave that team or want out to salvage his career. But you want to take a stand for something, at least have a good career. At least be playing well, or have a chance to be in an environment to play well. Don't be on a 3-13 team and not adjust to your game and not adjust your game to how defenses are attacking you, and you're over here trying to be super black man.
I mean, it's the one thing that it's just come down that a lot of people seem to, especially mixed people or people that got the chip on their shoulder, feel like they got something to prove, that I got to prove that I'm extra black. Like, I'm black, but I'm black.
Mhm.
Black. I'm not as black as you, but like, I'm about it. I'm in the community. People feel like they got to do that all the time, and I don't know why. Out of all things to be in the world, just be yourself, people. You ain't got to act like this.
Because the black community is so gatekept and gatekept. I don't know what you want to say, and it's so interlocked and so judgmental. I mean, black community is one of the most, like, I mean, in my experience at least, like, if you don't go with the status quo in the black community, you aren't doing it, you will be excluded. Like, for instance, 10 years ago, if you were gay, you could not be in the black community. Like, you were not. It's just not it's not a progressive bunch. Now you can see the same with trans. Like, like, that's just not something that they are fans of, like, the majority of the black community. And now you kind of see a split with the black community, like younger, like, black women, and compared to, like, the majority of, like, the black community, where they're more liberal and progressive and, like, rainbow flags and non-binary and all of that. Like, again,
the correlation too with that is that black women are getting degrees higher than any other race right now, than any other race and demographic right now at all. Oh, how's our education system doing? How's our college education system doing? And they're getting all the degrees. What are they getting their degrees in? Oh, soft sciences, social studies, women's studies, African studies. They're teachers, they're psychologists,
history,
all the liberal arts that you could ever want. And like, oh, wonder how they got indoctrinated up the wazoo in education.
And because they're promulgating, especially through, like, Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B and them, that you got to be this independent woman, get your degree, rack up your money, do your thing. And we even see the decline in marriages, especially among black women. Like, black women are the least likely to date and get married. That's a
Yep.
statistic. That's literally a statistic. And it's sad.
Nah,
I mean, and
it's real sad.
It's real sad that Cardi B is actually a role model in our society, especially when Joe Biden legitimized that entire thing. Joe Biden legitimized Cardi B.
Oh wait, why? What did he do?
Well,
He started singing WAP?
he did town halls with her.
Oh, did he? I didn't even see that.
He legitimized her. He legitimized WAP.
Look, let's be honest. Like Cardi B, like Megan Thee Stallion, like it's just idiotic music. And I mean, look, I don't know if you guys know. I just gotta make this joke. Cardi B's actual name, like it's so funny. It's like saying like a spell from Harry Potter. Her real name is Belcalis Marlanis Almanazar. Like, I just think that's hilarious. The meme that I saw, but
it does sound like something from Harry
She's not black though. Like,
no, I think she's I think she's like, what is it? Some sort of Hispanic or something. Like, you can Google that, but
that don't even sound Hispanic, man.
I mean, yeah, her last name Almanzar has a accent over the A, so it's most likely Hispanic.
Yeah.
But the thing with like the black community right now, one of the biggest things that are plaguing it is the fact that you do not have a unit family anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up. And my school was majority black. I would talk to people, and I grew up in a single parent household. I would talk to people. It was more likely that you didn't have a dad than you did have a dad. It was more likely that you had one parent in the house. Like, everyone would talk, and somebody would be like, "I saw my dad." Everyone's like, "You got a dad? Crazy. That's wild. We ain't know that was a thing." That's sad. And as a father now, like, I really see the importance of being in your child's life, and that's something that we really need to drill into. Thankfully, I had other role models, and I've said this before. If you don't have that male role model in your life, you're on a path to destruction. Men have so much masculinity, and whether you want to call it toxic or whatever, but if that masculinity is not put into the proper channels, it will easily fall into the wrong place, and you can end up in prison just like that. Especially if you're a black man. It is very easy for you to fall off that path and end up in prison, dead, drug addict, whatever you want to do. We need black men to go back into the communities, and this is something that I plan on doing when I'm a little bit older. I'd like to go back into the black community, and I urge all black men to do the same and start being that male role model for young black men. They don't have that. There's so many that don't. And they
volunteer at some of these organizations. Big Brother, Big Sister. They used to have Boys and Girls Club. Mentor somebody in the community. Just be there for someone. There are all types of ways. Just being there, being someone's outlet, so that they can talk problems out. Man, I mean, that's going to do wonders for a lot of kids.
And it's needful because, like, when I was an officer, that was the primary thing that I dealt with a lot, was talking to young men who were, maybe, whatever the case may have been, drugs or sexual harassment or something. I'm like, you got your whole life ahead of you. And I found a lot of them didn't have their dad to tell them these things. And I'd be like, and they're like, man, well, you got your life together and all this stuff. And thankfully, I did have my dad in my life. But I'm just like, you can be the same, bro. Like, you don't have to go down this path. But we even find now, with just the nuclear family, just not even having a father figure in the home is not only affecting men, it's also affecting women.
Yes,
because
it is.
Back to women trying to be independent now, they don't even know how to take care of a man. They don't want it. Marriage has dropped. The marriage rate in the United States is lowest than any other country. We're losing, like, nobody's having kids anymore. We're not even gaining, like, we're like declining on the next generation because none of these guys want to marry these women who are a bunch of feminazis, and because
and a bunch of unruly men, because they've been
labeled misogynists.
No, it's totally unruly men with unruly women. It doesn't work out.
Exactly, you can't have two crazies in the house.
Unruly men and unruly women. It just doesn't work out that way. When you have girls that grow up without a dad and someone to go tell them that they're beautiful, pretty, etc., and that they're valuing their worth, they're going to go out and seek that validation somewhere else. And that's the problem there. when you have a boy that doesn't grow up with a dad in the house and he doesn't have any structure, someone to whoop him and rein him back, he's going to go out there and someone else they're not going to rein him back. They're just going to push him full force. And generally that's going to be a bad influence somewhere that's going to get him somewhere bad and off worse than it was before. And it's what happens. It's a paramount, men and need each other. I'm sorry. Men and women need each other. Okay. It's crazy. Exactly. Men and women actually need each other here. Like
it's a biological fact. I mean, you can, and this is going to sound to many people real misogynistic or sexist, but it's not. Women cannot survive without a man. That's just how it is. We built the world, and we need women. Like we need each other. There's a reason why we're able to procreate with each other, because we need each other. And as I mentioned, we find these women nowadays who are so independent where they feel like they don't need a man, and it's just like, okay, maybe you're free enough to not do that, but you literally, most women, there are women who are in their 40s, it's statistically proven also, who are in their 40s, who have a career and have no kids, are the most unhappy women in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because women usually need to have kids to find happiness. And that's biological also. It's not like some type of social construct. It's instinctual. It's biological. Like you can't take these inherent things out of a person. And so when you're trying to live your independent life, and I heard this saying, and I think it's so true, that we have today a bunch of modern women who want traditional men. They want the man to provide. They want the man to basically guide them, be the leader of the household. But they want to be independent at the same time, and it doesn't correlate.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Sonny, it's almost like, okay, your money is our money, but my money is my money. That's the type of woman we're running into. Now, I do want to say, like, I know Chris came from a single parent household. If that happens, do the best you can. I mean, look at Chris. Chris is successful. And God bless those single mothers that are really working hard, trying to take care of household and raise their kids, and those kids come up and be successful. You did amazing. But
it's just harder.
It is harder.
It's just harder,
and it shouldn't have been that way.
We should strive to avoid it the best that we can.
Exactly.
They can't. It's like it's something that we should avoid. Yes, 100%. I'm not saying, single mother. I don't hate single mothers. I'd rather be no single mother. I'd rather everybody have a loving home with both parents. My mother was raised by my grandmother, who was a single mother. And my mom was lucky enough to have family all around, aunts and cousins everywhere around that also like kind of came in like community and raised her as well. Not everybody has that, and that was at a different time in society back when everybody used to help out like that. Like nowadays, you see family help out like that in the Black community. No, you don't see it come out like that in the Black community anymore. But she was just lucky to have that, and she knew that she didn't have to seek validation from anybody else. Degree anywhere else. She went to school, got her degree, went to college, and met my father, and that's where everything went. And I was just blessed to have that life, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom now, and that's how that influenced my upbringing tremendously. And so I can't stress it enough. Like, man, like the whole idea of being independent, I don't need nobody. Yes, you need somebody. I need somebody. You need somebody. Everybody needs somebody at some point here. We can't act like we don't. Like we're just gonna make it on our own the whole time. So
independence only goes so far when it's talking about like the family, or talking about being like, you cannot be a sole person in life. Like, we are social creatures. We crave one another. We want to be around other people. You need that. And so trying to start a family, or even having a family and without marriage, or without having a bond with somebody, and just having kids out of like Nick Cannon's out here doing just popping them off. What is he having, 9 or something? Like,
wait, how many?
I think he's having 9.
He had 4 at once. He's having like 4 at the same time right now.
What in the world, Nick Cannon?
Yeah. Well, his excuse is that he's
get him some child support. Get all of his money.
His excuse is that he has lupus and he's gonna die, so he's just gonna like give all of it. I'll give all of it up. Like, he's like, I'm gonna have kids.
He has lupus?
Yeah, he has lupus.
He does.
Oh, wow. And so and he's basically like, I don't think I'm gonna live to see like 40 or something. I don't know how old he is right now.
So,
but like,
I think he is 40.
Is he 40? I thought he was saying something like, I'm not gonna live this. Maybe he said like 50 or something. I don't know. But his excuse was like, he's not gonna, But my point is that mindset that like, a woman can do it by herself or a man can do it by itself. We need to get off of that. That is not saying women are weak or men are weak. That is saying that you need the structure of a 2-parent household. And take it from me, raising a kid is hard. It is, and I'm not even a year into it, but it is difficult. It takes time and energy. And I would definitely not be able to do it without my partner. I definitely would not be able to do it without her. And so you need that structure to be able to do it. You need a strong force of a man, and you need a loving, caring woman. And I'm not saying that that's always the same. I know people who have a strong force of a mother and a loving, caring father. You just need the balance. You need that balance. It's not so much a gendered issue. It is so much of that just structure and balance, and it takes 2 people to do that. And that's what people need. The Black community really needs that. And that's what we need to be promoting. Not Cardi B, not Megan Thee Stallion, not Coi Leray. Stop putting out all of the I was gonna say a bad word, but I'm trying to think how to sexual being sexually provocative is not necessarily a terrible thing, but pushing it to children is where it's bad, because you are going to have just a provocative next generation that are just going to be focused on sex, and then they aren't going to be having kids. Or they're going to have kids out of wedlock or out of a committed relationship, and that's where you end up with these problems of single parenthood, and then young Black men killing each other and young Black women having more kids out of wedlock.
Guys, think about it. It's also biblical. When Adam was in the garden, guess what? God said, it's not good for man to be alone, and the same thing goes for women. Of course, it didn't happen that way. Women didn't come first, men came first. But that's a biblical principle. It is not good for man to be alone. And it's another. I can give you another scripture. A man that findeth the wife findeth a good thing and has obtained favor with the Lord. Women, I know it didn't say y'all will obtain favor, but by being connected to that man, you also get that favor. If you're a Christian woman and you're watching this, and you're not actively trying to get yourself together in order to become a married woman, especially in Christ, you're really messing up. That's not the order of things. It's not biblical. I'm just saying.
I'll make the disclaimer. I'm trying to get myself ready myself to be a good Christian man and get myself ready. I'll make that discllaimer. That
are we saying Christian single and ready to mingle? Is that what we're saying?
We're in the process.
Going back to what Omar said, the Bible also says that a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife. I mean, there's a reason why God made women. I mean, he made them for a reason. So, I mean, we got to put that to action, and I don't think it's just for procreation, but, it's so funny to me, the world that we live in today, where it's almost offensive to say that you need each other. It's almost a derogatory term to say, oh, a woman needs a man or a man needs a woman. Everybody wants to be like, oh, I'm so independent. And it's like, no, there's 2 genders. Let me emphasize that again. 2 genders for a reason. Like, we need each other. And to say any different is foolishness. And that's just the way it is.
It's pride. It's pride that has pushed people to say that I don't need other people. I don't need no man. I don't need no woman. Like, no, that's incorrect. Like, I have no issue saying that I need my partner. I need my girlfriend. I could not be without her. That's what I need. And people, I think other people who are in long committed relationships or married, they can say the same. But until you've experienced that, a lot of people don't understand it. They've always been alone, or they've only had their parents. They're like, I don't need or they've been heartbroken. People really need to understand that to be happy in life, like, that bachelor lifestyle at 60 years old, or that single, cat lady at 60 years old, you're not going to be the happiest. Like, you could be much happier with somebody else, spending your golden years with a partner. And I'm not saying necessarily it has to be marriage or anything like that, but having a committed relationship and being with somebody one-on-one, that is what's going to bring you about true happiness.
Now, I will also say this. The woman with cats, if she is happy, I'm going to tell you why. If she had a good daddy And this is why we need 2-parent households. If she had a good daddy who taught her how a woman is supposed to be treated, who treated her mom right, she's not going to take any BS. So that woman with cats that's 60, 70, 80 years old, that's a happy woman, because people will say, well, there are some women that are like that. Yeah, she had a good dad. That's why. She had someone that showed her how that pulled out her chair for her. You know, that's the father's job, is to pull out he's the first man that's supposed to pull out the chair for his daughter. You know, that's one of the things you do. In showing your daughter how to what to look for in a guy. Women marry or be in relationships with people. Well, I mean, with men that are like their fathers. So, those folks that end up alone at the end of their life, but are happy, it's because they actually had a dad who did his job. I just wanted to point that one out because I get those stories all the time, and I'm making that same point.
My final thoughts here: we have to set an example for our kids and for the future generations here, because this past generation maybe didn't set the greatest one for us, and we're going to continue a cycle until we decide to break it. I've talked to a few people here. Someone just the other day, a female, and she said that, you know, she does want to have kids in the future. She knows she does want to have a family. And I said, that's great. At first, she didn't want to, based upon her experiences with her parents and her mother, and how their relationship was and everything else. And that's bad, because that negative relationship projected onto them, like that's what marriage is like, or that's what a relationship's like. That's what it's like having a kid with somebody else. When in reality, it's like, no, they're, you know, maybe two crummy people, or two people that, you know, didn't do things right. And now you think, based upon that, that's what reality is. And that's not good. And that, like, oh, if I grew up and all my dad did was beat on my mom every day and everything like that, like, what's that going to be like me? What, I'm going to be nothing like my dad. I'm going to be nothing like, you're going to be, who knows what you're going to be off and be. Or if you're a girl and all you see is your daddy beating on mom, like, what's going to make you want to go get married? Because you think that's going to happen to you too. Why would you want to go get married, have a kid, and you think that's going to happen to yourself? So we have to set good examples. We got to be, you know, the right people here, pursuing the right things and making sure, you know, it's all done the right way. And it's imperative. It's imperative here. The black population is still hovering at 12 to 13%. It's stagnated. That's crazy. We shouldn't be at 12 to 13%. With broken households, broken families, broken relationships, mass abortion, these things all contribute to the decline of our population. It's not helping us out at all. So we've got to change something here, and we have to set an example. We got to do things the right way. And that's my final thoughts for today.
I completely agree with that. You know, final thoughts from me, you know, really, we need to begin working as a community and start having that outreach, start talking to people outside of your circle. You know, we are never going to win anything, or we're never going to push any sort of conservatism or any sort of liberty-minded views on the others until we have that conversation. And so you cannot continue to be knocking doors in the same neighborhoods that are voting Republican, or the same cities that are voting Republican, or the same rural areas that are voting Republican. We need to go outside of that and start having that conversation. And that's why I implore people to start getting into the community and really having those discussions. You cannot have community, or you can't have politics without community. You need to start working with others outside of your standard political procedure, and have those that communication and those conversations. That's what I hope to be doing. I hope others will do, to be able to hopefully bring some people to our side and just understand that, you know, conservatism is not an evil racist thing like the media is saying. And that's just how it is. So I think the best thing to do is start getting involved in your community in some sort of way. I've always said it: run for office, do something, but also you can do it just by having a conversation. You know, start a group and just go, you know, clean up the park and have conversations with people. That's all you got to do. So get out there and get started. It's time to get to action.
Great. I agree with the final thoughts here, especially what you said, Christian, about just making sure the next generation, we leave something for them to look to, because we didn't really get left much. And I'm thankful that there's some guys like us who are trying to change that, because there's not a lot of young people who are actually trying to do that job. And so having leaders like ourselves to actually try to go out there and do the hard work and try to do our best to make the next generation have a better life, I think is really crucial. So props to all of us for sure.
Yeah. Obviously, everything you all have said is great. My final thoughts here. It's already been an interesting year, with everything that has gone on. It's politically, socially. What I want to say to people is, if you have kids, please cover them in prayer, because because this year's already been crazy. We've had a crazy I'll say since Barack Obama got elected, it's gotten really crazy for whatever reasons. Not the fact that the man was an African American, but that's when you really started to see the world change in a bad way. So cover your kids in prayer. Find Jesus. Please call him. That's all I got to say.
And that was great discussion today, boys. Appreciate it. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe this if you really enjoyed it. If you want to make a donation to keep these episodes and these weekly discussions rolling, please message either one of us or the account at Black Friday NFS on every major platform. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.